What's going on, guys? Nathan here, and today I want to discuss the 5 basic poker mistakes that all poker beginners make. I have seen so many amateurs still making these mistakes to this day. I'm going to show you what they are and how to fix them in today's video with step-by-step example hands. Let's jump right into it. Alright guys, counting down from 5 to 1, here we go. Number 5 is overplaying top pair. Guys, if I could get a dime for how many times I've seen poker beginners make this basic mistake, I'd probably be a pretty rich man by now. So guys, all good poker players know that you need to pot control top pair, and I'm going to give you an example right now. So you've got ace jack offsuit. When I say offsuit, by the way, I just mean it's 2 different suits. So in this example here, you've got the ace of spades and you got the jack of hearts. Good hand, definitely a hand that I suggest playing. And by the turn, the board reads the ace of hearts, 9 of spades, 7 of diamonds, and 10 of clubs. Now we're going to assume that you raise pre-flop, you bet the flop, and they call. I'm also going to assume that you are playing against a reasonable player, aka a regular, aka somebody who's not a fish, not a recreational player. It's somebody who takes the game seriously like you do. They're watching videos like this, they're trying to win. Guys, if you bet here again, you're only going to get action from a decent player with all of the hands that have you crushed right now. And let's just run through just a couple of them. Ace king, ace queen, ace 10, ace 9, ace 7, 10 9, pocket 9s, pocket 7s. I'm running out of fingers. I think you guys get the idea. Those are the hands that you're going to get action from versus any decent player, and they're just going to fold all of their bluffs. So what is the point of all this? Well, I think you guys can already see there's no value for us in betting here again. It's literally what I call one of these lose-lose situations where we only get action from better hands and we fold out all the worse hands. This is not how we win at poker, guys. So I would suggest checking here instead in order to create what I call deception value, and I'm not going to go deep into that in this video. I literally wrote an entire book about it. My last book, the Micro Stakes Playbook, has an entire section in there, and basically deception value is when you check here versus a reasonable player, we're going to be able to cash in that value on the river because we create that doubt in their mind that we don't have anything on this board. Guys, bottom line, you're typically only going to get 2 streets of value here versus a decent player, and so you often want to do this stop and go technique, which I'm discussing here, and then go ahead and bet the river. But let's move on to common poker mistake number 4 that many beginners still make, and that is making bad river calls. Guys, I have seen this one a million times as well. All advanced poker players, guys, understand that the game of poker is all about understanding player type. Everything that I put out, for those of you guys who are fans of the channel here, you know that I always talk about the type of player we're playing against. Tight and aggressive, tight and passive, a nit, like we're going to discuss in this example here, a recreational player, whether it's a fish, a whale, a maniac, and so on. We have to play our hand differently depending on what player type we're up against. So in this hand, we're going to be up against a nit. Now, what is a nit? A nit is the tightest player at the table. This is the guy or girl who's been sitting in the corner seat for the last hour, and you don't hear a peep out of them. They're not playing any hands. They never seem to be involved in the action. And guys, there's a clear reason why. Because they're waiting for aces or kings. They're waiting for ace king. They're waiting to hit a flush. They're waiting to hit a straight before they commit any significant money into the pot. So you have ace king offsuit in this hand, and by the river, the board reads king 8 7 jack 3 with no possible flush on this board. You make a bet here and the nit check raises you. Guys, serious alarm bells should be going off in your head here. As I discussed in my first poker book, Crushing the Micro Stakes, the turn raise is usually the nuts and the river raise is literally always the nuts. By the way, I will link up my books in the description below if you're interested. Guys, a nit here is only going to check raise you on this board with a hand. Once again, let's run through them all that beats you, like pocket kings, king jack, pocket 8s, pocket 7s, pocket jacks, or 10 9. They are not doing this with a hand that we beat, such as king queen, king 10, ace 8. I think you guys get the idea. No, instead they're just going to check with these hands or call with these hands. When the tightest player and the most passive player, by the way, as well, at the table, which is what the nit is, check raises you on the river, they literally have 0 bluffs in their range, guys. They are doing doing this with one of these nut hands, and the best thing that you can possibly do in this situation is quickly throw your hand away. All right, let's move on to poker beginner mistake number 3, and that is giving them a cheap price. I see this all the time, guys, as well. All poker experts understand basic pot odds. By the way, I've written a basic poker odds cheat sheet blog article on my website. I will link that up in the description below if you want to know just the basic pot odds, hand odds, implied odds, the basic math. It's really all you need to know. But let me give you an example. Once again, you've got ace queen offsuit versus a fish in this example. So we're talking about a recreational player this time, totally different situation from the previous hand when we were talking about the tightest player at the table. This is the loosest player at the table. This is the player who's playing every type of trashy hand. They will call you down with bottom pair or with a chase any draw, and the flop is queen 8-7. So awesome, right? We've got top pair, top kicker versus the weakest player at the table. We absolutely want to be betting in this situation. However, the mistake that a lot of people make is they'll only bet a small amount, 30% of the pot, 40% of the pot. And I don't know why some people are still teaching this to this day. Guys, you have to, once again, always understand the player type that you're up against. In this situation, you should be betting 80% of the pot, even 100% of the pot versus a recreational player, because they're not paying attention. And the biggest reason that you want to do this, besides just building the pot so we can win more money, is you also want to deny them the proper odds to chase their ridiculous draw with a hand like 6-5, for example, which is an open-ended straight draw on this board. When you bet 80% of the pot here, they cannot mathematically call here and turn a profit in the long run. Once again, I'm not going to go deep into the math in this video. I will include the link to the simple math in the blog article on my website in the description below. All right, let's move on to poker beginner mistake number 2, and that is missing thin values. So guys, what you need to understand about the flop, turn, and river is that the river is going to be the street where the pot size is the biggest on average. Makes sense, right? It's the last street in No Limit Texas Hold'em. So any mistakes that you make on the river are going to have the biggest effect on your overall winnings. And the basic point here is that you need to make them pay every single time when you have a value hand. And by the way, when I say a value hand, I'm talking about a situation where you believe you have the best hand. So let me give you another example. You have ace queen offsuit once again here, and once again we're up against a fish in this hand. The weakest player at the table has a ton of different hands in their range. And on the river, the board reads a king, queen, 7, 4, 3 with 3 diamonds on the board here. Now a lot of people will get gun shy. They'll see the 3 diamonds. They'll go, oh my god, they must have hit the flush. But I hope you guys have also noticed that we have a diamond in our hand as well, which does block the flush. A small detail, but often overlooked by a lot of poker beginners. The other far more important point here, guys, is that a flush is just a very small percentage of their overall range. There are so many other hands that they can have here, such as a worse queen, a hand like queen jack or queen 10. They can also have a 7, a 4, a 3. Remember, we're up against a fish, guys. They do not fold any of these hands, and therefore you want to be making a value bet here always, and I would recommend betting around half pot. And the reason why is because, once again, a lot of these hands are mediocre. Let's think about a hand like 7-6, for example, for third pair on this river. If you were to bet 80% of the pot or 100% of the pot here and make a really big bet like this might scare some of those hands out. Whereas if you only bet 50% of the pot, so for example, pot's $100, you bet $50, you're often going to get a call from these hands. So guys, it's really important that you understand player type and also bet sizing in all situations, and also do not miss clear value situations like this. It is very important that you understand that we do need to make a lot of bets in poker, even when we only have second pair like we have in this situation. You do not need to have top pair or a straight or a flush in order to make a bet in poker. Let's move on to the number 1 mistake mistake now that all poker beginners make, and that is only 3-betting with premiums. Alright guys, so 3-betting before the flop is a crucial element to your success in this game, and that is the art of when somebody raises, you re-raise. Now the biggest mistake that a lot of poker beginners make is that they only will 3-bet, aka re-raise, with one of the strongest hands in the game, one of the premium hands like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, ace king, and etc. Guys, the biggest problem with this is that versus any kind of decent thinking opponent who is watching videos like this, they're going to read you like a book, and they're just going to fold their hand because it's going to be very, very obvious to them that you have one of the best hands possible. And that is why I always suggest that you mix in some light 3-bets as well with a hand, for example, like a nice suited connector like Jack 10 of hearts, or a nice suited ace like Ace 4 of spades. It doesn't matter what the suits are, these are just examples here. The other thing you want to do is you want to target the weaker regulars with your light 3-bets like this. You want to look for people who have a high fold to 3-bet percentage. Now if you're playing online poker, this is super simple. You can just use a HUD, which will put the numbers on your poker table screen. I will link up the HUD that I use in the description below, but if you're playing live poker or you're playing online poker without a HUD, you just want to look for the risk-averse players who back down a lot. You want to re-raise those players because you know they're probably going to lay it down unless they happen to have their pocket aces or their pocket kings, and we all know that that doesn't happen very often. So guys, the bottom line is it's really important that you learn how to mix up your play, especially before the flop. I'm not saying to 3-bet these hands all the time. In fact, most of the time you should just be calling with these hands, but once in a while you want to be able to mix in a re-raise with hands like this, which are not premium hands, in order to keep the other players at the table guessing and ultimately make yourself much more difficult to play against. Alright guys, I hope that these 5 tips help. Let me know what mistakes you've seen poker beginners making the most in the comments below, and also like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. And lastly, if you want to know my entire strategy to smash the small and mid stakes games, make sure you grab a copy of my free poker cheat sheet. That will be the top link in the description below. Thanks a lot for watching guys. All the best of the poker tables. Unless you're on mine, I will catch you next time.